We're now ready for our final financial statement. If you need an example, look at 233 and through 236. It is going to be our balance sheet, and I realize that this is kind of fuzzy, so hopefully you'll have access to your book here. The balance sheet is simply a reflection of our accounting equation. Do our assets equal our liabilities plus our owner's equity? And you'll recall that in the standard accounting, in the accounting equation, we only reference capital, not our temporary accounts. So our balance sheet is going to have an asset section, a liability section, and an owner's equity section. And I think it's a little confusing by this because we're used to seeing our equation go across. We have our assets over here, and then we have our liabilities and owner's equity over here. Well, that would make for a very wide form. So what they've done is they've divided it up into two sections. Here's the assets, and we're going to have a total asset over here. And then normally you would think you'd have your liabilities and owner's equity over here, but instead they're bringing it down below. And you're simply going to compare your assets to your liabilities and owner's equity. You're going to get everything you need for the balance sheet from the worksheet and the statement of changes in owner's equity. You're going to get all of your assets from the balance sheet side of the worksheet. You're going to get all of your liabilities from the credit side of the balance sheet on the worksheet. But the capital has changed. It's no longer this $25,400 because we had investments made to it. We had net income added to it. We had withdrawals taken out. So we're going to get our ending capital, this last line down here, or second to last line, ending capital. We're going to get that from our statement of changes in owner's equity because it's told us everything that's happened so far. Time to give it a try. Make sure that you are on page 165 of your workbook again, and this time we're on page 167 of your textbook, or excuse me, 165 and then 167. We are finishing up problem 9.5. Earlier we completed the statement of changes in owner's equity, and now we're going to be preparing the balance sheet. We're going to start out with our three-line heading. However, there's a little bit of a difference in our three-line heading when it comes to the balance sheet. It still has a who, Wilderness Rentals. It still has a what. Instead of a worksheet, it's going to be a balance sheet. And it still has a when, but our when is not going to be for the month ended September 30th. Rather, our when represents the last day of the accounting cycle. Do our assets equal our liabilities plus owner's equity on this date? And you're just going to have to remember that you're just going to use September 30th, or the last day, as your date. Now, in the income statement, if you recall, our headings were along the left-hand side and everything else was indented. Now with the balance sheet, our headings are actually going to be centered. Don't ask me why. I'm not sure who made that up, but that's the way it's going to be. We're going to have three sections. We're going to have assets, liabilities, and then owner's equity. We're going to start with our assets section. And you're going to look at, I got too many papers around here. We're going to see all of our assets, which go from 101 down to 125. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. We're going to list them here. You don't have to put account numbers. And we're going to list their balances on the left side because, left side, because we have multiple that will eventually be totaled, and the total will be brought over here to the right side. So I'm going to write those out while you watch the video. If I go too fast, just stop it. You write along with me. If you still need more time to write those out, just pause the video and get that done. Once you're done, we're going to total our assets. You're just going to indent it just slightly, and we'll say total assets. Since we're adding these up, we're going to draw a single rule here. And once we've added them up, we're going to write our total right here. Get your calculator out, stop the video if necessary, and I want you to total those for me. Did you get 18,699? Do not put any rulings under that right now. We're going to leave this until we've completed the bottom portion down here of liabilities and owner's equity, and then we're going to make a comparison to see if our liabilities and owner's equity match our assets. So the next section that we're going to do, you can skip a line or you can do the very next line, it doesn't matter. We're going to list our liabilities, and if we go back to our worksheet, you'll notice that we have 3 accounts payables. You're going to list those 3 and their balances. Now I know they have a credit balance, but I'm adding them together, so I'm going to actually list them on the left column. So I'm going to write those in while you do it, and stop the video if you need some extra time. Okay, if you need some more time, just stop it momentarily. Oops, I apologize. I didn't even put the numbers in, so you can keep going. All right, once again, stop it momentarily if you're not done. Otherwise, let's take a look at our totals here. We have, these are the balances for accounts payable. You're then going to draw a single rule, and we're going to have total liabilities. Get your calculator out and add up those 3. You should have ended with a total of $4,327 in liabilities. Our last section is owner's equity. How many owner's equity accounts do we have? You should only have 1. So that's actually going to be our total. We're not going to have a total owner's equity section. Rather, we're going to write our capital account and the total right across here. This one's a little trickier. Let's write the account name, Ronald Hicks Capital. And then remember, we're not going to get this total from the worksheet. Everything else has come from the worksheet. Rather, we're going to get it from that statement of changes in owner's equity. This down here is the number that reflects all of our changes. It took us from beginning, adding some things, subtracting withdrawals, and now we know exactly how much the owner is worth, $14,372. It's my total. I'm going to bring it straight across, $14,372. Now I know this is a little tricky at this point. We haven't drawn any lines, but we're just dealing with the bottom portion of this form right now. At this point, you're going to put one more line. It's total liabilities and owner's equity. You're going to draw a single rule, and you're going to add your liabilities to your owner's equity. Get your calculator out and do that. and you should have gotten 18,699. Now, let's compare this bottom part to our assets, the top part. I had 18,699 in assets, and I have 18,699 in liabilities and owner's equity. Since they match, I'm actually going to put two sets of double rules, one under the assets and one under liabilities and owner's equity. And you have now completed your third financial statement. I'll make these just a little more distinct for you. At this point, you may move ahead and start completing the assignments listed in Moodle. Use all the resources available to you to complete them.